Okay, welcome to COVID-19. The game just started Virtual Summit Day 25. And today we are continuing the series of, let's say, talking about gamification. And today our theme is the power of gamification with 3 different experts in the field. And let's know our experts as we used to do daily since we started. And let's start with our lady, Lilian, please.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Mohammed, for the introduction. As you know me, my name is Lilian Abu Hamdan. I've been working in the HR field for the past 6 years in the banking sector. My concentration was in the master's degree about artificial intelligence in HR. And since then, started my passion in everything related to artificial intelligence, machine learning, data, and HR. I did a lot of thorough systematic research. I already started in publishing papers. I help master's students in that. So I'm very well interested in the knowledge about this topic. And what I've been doing lately, from the last year, I was certified in applying gamification in L&D. And having said that, I've been working in the banking sector. So I did my first board game that was about applying financial literacy in a board game. So what I do is that I help students who come to learn financial literacy terms by playing a board game. And since then, my passion about artificial intelligence, gamification were all put together in order to help the community and people around and the network to know more knowledge about gamification, about AI as well. I do a lot of webinars and talks about these topics. I'm currently also preparing a lot of games. I'm moving from board games as well into mobile apps. So mainly that's it in a brief.
Yeah, it's our pleasure having you in today's panel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go now with Hans, if I'm saying it correctly, with Nicholas.
Thank you. Yes, it's I'm Nicholas Babin. I think a lot of you know me. I'm the grandfather here because I'm much older than anybody else. I've been in the business for over 30 years, and I'm a key opinion leader and a consultant in anything around data. So a lot of artificial intelligence that I started back in 1996 with Sony, launched the first Ivo, which is the AI-based robot that Rob had a chance to see last December in Berlin.
Last time in a while we were together.
And so I'm involved with a lot of companies like Huawei, IBM, and Google, and anything around AI and 5G. I do a lot of gamification because I've been involved with gamification since 2010, or even before when I was at Sony with the PlayStation and also the Sony business. The fact that we could both use the game mechanics for other electronic products. So I'm looking forward to this panel because I know Rob and I've met Lilian, and I know that between the 3 of us, we have very complementary skills. And so I really thank you, Mohammed, for organizing this. It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, this was, for me, a very good choice to have you 3 together in the same panel because I know there's kind of, let's say, a harmony between you, each other, and you've done things before. Then I'm sure we will do a different panel today together.
Yeah.
Okay, let's turn now to Rob, please.
Well, thank you, Mohammed, for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry if I was looking down. I'm probably still doing it. I'm trying to share on my phone. I'm sharing, on Facebook, on my web, on my page. I'm trying to share on Instagram as well. So I'm sorry for that. I just want to make sure everybody can join if possible. As Mohammed mentioned, my name is Rob. I'm Rob Alvarez. I'm joining from Madrid, which is where I live. I am probably best known in this world for my Professor Game podcast, where I've interviewed people like Nicolas. Hopefully in the future, we might also have people like Lilian as well, and even Mohammed. Many of the people who are listening as well, you might be familiar with some of the names that are in the podcast. I also work at a business school, at IE Business School in Madrid, where I both work as a staffer, in the department where we create interactive and engaging, especially online learning experiences. That's our main focus, but we also have some non-online and face-to-face experiences. And there I also teach both in the area of operations, and I do a lot of gamification as well. I am one one of the few people, of course, dedicated to this as usual in many places. There's a lot of people around the world doing this, but I'm one of the few in my space as usual. I've been into the gamification world for some time, and I do a lot of things in this world, and I don't want to, overextend in what we do here. I've been to conferences, I've met people, amazing people. I've had great opportunities to do that, and hopefully I'll get to share some of that today with all of you.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, then let's start with Liliane about since COVID-19 started to be on Earth, people start to think about the technologies. Then let's talk about how can AI make a difference to the HR field, especially because right now HR departments have many challenges, and we covered these parts about the challenges of HR in a separate panel. But we want to know now how can AI make a difference for HR field?
Okay. Look, I do truly believe that HR is already facing a challenges since then, before COVID, with all the technology advancement, with everything is going and it's moving fast, that HR work is no longer an admin work. So what we can see is that the technology is starting to take place, not of a human, I mean a human work, but they are taking place of administrative routine work. So the work that used to be done by HR people, I mean the administrative work, whether in the recruitment or any other function, whether sifting CVs, contacting client, contacting candidates, interviewing, is now being done by machines. So, and here we can see the integration of artificial intelligence. Now, when COVID came, I do always say that the future is now, and we cannot go back to the routine work that it was used to be done. There is no longer human interaction, so there is no longer need for a human. So basically, we are shifting way faster to the use of technology and to the use of AI and video interviews. So now we can see that we'll no longer be doing a face-to-face interview, we'll no longer be calling for an interview, or either sifting CVs the way we used to do it. So now there is machines who will be doing the job. Nevertheless, I always say that the human will always be needed in the HR departments, the human factor, the human interaction, the human means in terms of decisions that will be taken at the final stage. And after all, who puts the data and who integrate is the human beings. But we moved way faster. I don't want really to go back to the way it was before. This is where we should be, and this is where the future it is. So yes, HR part is facing challenges. It used to face challenges, but now the way the challenges are in a way different impact. Technology will take place in terms of things or functions of different HR functions. And the second part is that how HR people can use technology in order to keep their employees productive and motivated during this COVID crisis. So I do think that there is a lot of changes that happen now. Employees some are adaptable, flexible, and others are not. It's a change. So here comes the role of an HR to integrate the technology to help them always be motivated and productive while working remotely and adapt to this change. And that's why we'll be talking later on within the panel what I personally try to do using gamification and technology in order to keep employees always motivated, productive, and happy with the changes that comes. So I do see this change as an opportunity for an HR people, and it's not a crisis for us. So let's take an advantage of this what's happening and start implementing really technology on our daily basis. HR is not an admin work, and it's a challenging, and we should really start seeing it from a different perspective.
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest challenge that now HR is not like people used to see them that they are admin. They are now HR business partners. Yeah. They are taking decisions. They are involved in any and each part of the company structure, finance, budgeting, headcounts, and everything. Then, yeah, I totally agree with today's technology. It's not that kind of a crisis, more than it's a challenge. Because who will adapt and learn fast how to use these technology will make a difference. Who will not do this, they will fall down like any other industry.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to jump in for a second because I with the interactions that I currently have as well through my job with HR, I think there is a great shift that is happening as Liliane is saying here. And I think it has like two sides. It's both the business that is accepting and starting to accept. Many cases it's not as advanced as Lilian is proposing, and that's not a good thing. But it has like two sides. It's both the business, but it's also the people in HR that are assuming these roles. Sometimes you ask somebody, what do you do in HR? And they will tell you like, well, what do you do? I'm, paying the bills, and I'm doing these admin work, which is just a small thing of all the huge potential that HR has for the business. And it has to be, and that's where I wanted to bring it, is that it has to be associated as well to what are the results that you can bring. Just as with, everything that you do in gamification, it has to be associated with results. And that bringing that together in HR is where I think that the future can definitely explode for the whole profession.
I totally agree. And on top of it, we've seen it even before COVID. HR is going through a major transformation. This is exactly what we both have been saying. And results-driven HR is exactly the way to go. But including AI with that is going to help them. And it's HR augmented. It's not HR replaced. It's HR augmented with AI, because AI is going to be able to manage so much data. And AI is going to be able to go so fast in terms of analytics and in terms of combining a lot of data coming from social networks, from everything, and will be able to give a better understanding to HR people. So you're absolutely right, both of you, saying that HR people now are transforming and are actually the role is changing so much, because you don't have people anymore reading at resumes. It doesn't work anymore like this. So that's why I think these topics of gamification, where you make the personalization more fun, and AI making like the possibility of analyzing a huge amount of data at a speed that human brain can't compete. And that's why I like to always say AI is human augmented. It's not my expression. Many people have used it before, but I remember back in '96 when I came out with the robot. When Sony came out with the robot and I was introducing it, people were saying, oh, it's going to replace me. I said, no, it's not going to replace you. It's going to augment you. It's going to help you being a better professional. And that's why I totally joined the two of you in your what you just said.
Yeah, it's totally. Sorry, Liam, please.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with all what both Nicholas and Rob mentioned. I'm a big fan of AI, and I work in the HR. So here what we should be this awareness that AI will not take the place of HR, rather than it will be a better solution for HR for the productivity, proficiency in terms of work. So yeah, I totally agree. I'll be using this state as well. I'll be using this statement.
Yeah, because I totally think and understand that it's not for a replacement more than it will make life easier if I know how to use it correctly.
That's it.
Everything. I mean, not only AI and HR, technology, if you use it in a negative way, it will not be used as a successful. So, and everything, AI, data, technology, we are living in it already, and COVID make it a way 100 times maybe faster to adapt it all around the world. So it depends, how do we see it? For me, I think people around and everyone is saying who can see it as an opportunity, we are halfway through, and that's it mainly.
Yeah. Okay, and actually talking about the opportunities and how COVID-19 make things faster, most of the world now started to shift everything to e-learning because of the crisis itself. Then how to use gamification and game-based learning solutions to add value to my e-learning sessions and to engage people within the session. And this question is sure for Rob.
Well, as I mentioned at the start, one of the things that we do create at IE Business School, and funny thing is we've been doing it for almost 20 years now, is these interactive online learning materials. And I do think that there is a big potential in both people who are creating these things right now, because we were mostly immersed in the business school education up until recently. So most of what we have is probably more oriented towards business schools and business teaching. But there is a wide world out there, and I'm sure that even within business, there is a lot of things that we haven't created. And what I mean by this is there's this dual potential. There's both the side of saying, well, I can just jump into this space and find the things that are already available. There's a lot out there that is already available. In my operations classes like 3-4 weeks ago, I was using a simulation from a startup in, I think it was Chile. They have this fantastic inventory simulation, which looks like very much like a game. It was very game-like. It was very entertaining for the students. They learned a lot about the inventory with it. That was just one of the things. We use a lot of our own materials as well. We have, simulations on inventory, on supply chain. There's a lot of things that are happening in this world. And the thing is, when we started this, and this is where I wanted to get, when we started this, we were thinking, oh, we're going to online. Like IE was one of the first universities as a business school, especially, to start doing MBAs online and blended. And they started like, well, yeah, let's grab this PDF, this written thing and turn it into a PDF. That's digitalized. So we're in the digital world. But then, of course, you start thinking about these things and it starts moving fast. And you say, well, if I can send a PDF, why not send a video? If I can send a video, why not make a web page? When I make a web page, I get people to have interactions, and there it starts building upon. And it comes back to what we were talking about AI before. At some point, some things for now are like the thing to do, but then we'll realize that the evolution is going to be exponential and very, very quick. And that's where I think there is a lot of potential here. There is a lot of potential of, again, using these things that are already created and saying, well, you know what, I want in my e-learning, I need something for today, for tomorrow, for next week, for next month. There are things that are already available there to take you from 0 to 10 to 100. If you want to get to 1 million, probably you want to use all of these things and then, catapult yourself there to the next level and do your own materials. But that doesn't mean you have to create everything from scratch. And that's one of the main messages, especially in e-learning. I think there is a lot of things out there for us to start using. And there's, at least in the materials that we create, there's a material, but there's also something that we call the teaching note. With a teaching note, if you're a facilitator and you understand the subject, you can just jump in. Of course, you read it first, you understand it, and you can jump into a session, to a class, a live session, virtual session, whatever it is that you're going to do, and get people to learn through that. And that, you have a 12-session course. You can change 1 or 2 sessions with that. And that's already, that's a 20, 30, 40% increase and improvement from what you had. And people are going to be expecting more of this. And they're going to be like waiting for that next thing, for that surprise, which is also one of the important elements in gamification. But I don't want to, broadcast here the rest of my answer. So I would also like to listen to Nicholas and Lydian.
Yeah, what I really like was what you just said, Rob, is you talked about an evolution and not a revolution. And you're absolutely right. We're in an evolving world here. And everything you've been saying is very linked to also what Lydian's been saying about HR, because obviously e-learning is also an HR function.
Exactly.
With COVID is, I'm a teacher in business schools here in France, in Bordeaux, southwest of France. And during COVID, obviously all classes stopped. And one business school said, can all teachers start again in 2 days online using Microsoft Teams? And out of whatever, they had 15 or 20 teachers, only 3 of us said, yes, we can. And it was a fantastic experience. The first 2 or 3 hours where it was a bit, a struggle, because
clunky, of course.
you're not fed with the energy from the class, and interrupting, as we can see even now, is not, natural. But then you get used to it, and you actually use the technology to make it fun. And that's what I really wanted to do each time, and I allowed people to make comments and everything. So at least we could almost be like in a classroom. And so that's why I really like this evolution, because it's what we used to see even before COVID and a long time ago up until now has been evolving. So at least it's ready now. If COVID had happened 30 years ago, can you imagine what would have happened? We had no internet. Yeah, totally shut down. Exactly. Whereas now, at least with internet and with the fact that we're all very familiar with tools like Teams or WhatsApp or things like that, we've been able to manage. And that's what I think it's a great opportunity that we're faced with.
Just a quick comment. I mean, the fact that we have, 40, 30, 50% of our courses online the university courses are not online, and we literally merged from one to the other. Doesn't mean it was a smooth transition, by no means. I was teaching this course for the first time, so I had to make the whole adaptation to online. But that was exciting, and that was possible because we are already enabled through this. So completely, Nicholas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I will talk about this, and from being working in a company, I'm not in an education sector, so I'm facing the same thing. I mean, we used to do that our trainings and in a training academies and a physical locations, and it's not the case anymore. Today we are saying how our courses will be shifted into an EA courses, online learning classes, and this is a huge difference for employees. For students, maybe they are already in the loop of learning online. They take online courses, they're already involved in technology and the internet. And here comes to the challenge in the corporate field, how we are moving into e-learning, I mean, online learning classes. So, but I do also, as you mentioned, both that it's an opportunity, whether for students or for people or employees. We are already there, so we shouldn't go back. Even when COVID finished, and even when all this is back to normal life, we are in the future already, and we are halfway through. So why to go back to the way it was before? I do truly believe this, and I don't know what do you think about that. I don't know if you have to go back to the physical classes. I think Rob won't want to do that.
Well,
But
there's two things. If you allow me, I'd like to decompose it into two things. There's on one side, do we just want to go back to the regular class? And I think the answer is basically no. At IE, we're starting to talk about something. We're starting to talk about hybrid learning. We're starting to talk about liquid learning. You know, that's permeating throughout. Like you're learning just anywhere and everywhere. One of the things that's going to happen probably in September is we're going to have the classroom half full, because we cannot have, you know, the full 60 people classroom that we had before. We have the 60 people size classroom, and we can have 30 people. What do you do with the other 30? You kick them out. You teach twice. I mean, financially, is that even viable? I mean, probably one of the most expensive things for a business school is the professors, besides the physical space. So, you know, it is going to be kind of a struggle in that sense. I don't think that we are going to be going back to literally what we had before. That's one thing. The other thing is, do we want to? I think that we're learning a lot of things now, and finally, perhaps the whole thing of, you know, reversing the classroom, like it's not only just you standing there in a lecture hall. I mean, I think there's many things that have evolved in that sense very, very quickly, and we've seen how these things can be done. And the other thing is, I think that now, and this is something that by no means I've prophesized in any way, many people were saying this, but sometimes when you think, or you thought at least about online, you always thought, well, that's the cheap option. You're not thinking about enabling through online. You're not thinking about enabling all the things that you can do online that you can't do in the physical classroom. So you're thinking, oh, it's online, so can you give me an online course that's cheaper, right? So I think that argument is mostly going to start being deconstructed in many ways for many things. I mean, you can see universities that are going online and saying, well, I'm not going to reduce tuition because it's not cheaper for me. It's not cheaper for you. And you're not getting less of a good education necessarily. I mean, you could be doing a terrible job at online teaching. And I completely agree with that. But what I mean is, it's not that being online decreases the quality of education. In fact, our online programs, or the ones that are usually online, are the global programs, the executive programs. So their tuition is actually higher for those programs. So it's the complete opposite of what you usually think about e-learning. You're thinking about, you know, MOOCs and, you know, Coursera and edX and all these things. Well, it's not the only thing. It has the ability to be, you know, massive online open courses and MOOCs, but it also has the ability to be something completely different and more personalized and closer to people than you would actually expect from a regular course.
In France, we have statistics that says that 98% of people, because France was the country against remote working. I mean, like, I've been working on digital transformation for years, and every time it was like, no, I don't want my staff to work from home because they'll think they're on vacation. So in France now that they were forced to do remote working during COVID, 98% of people who've been working remotely said they don't want to go back to the other way. So I agree with you. It's a two-way thing. It's, well, do we want to? The answer is clearly no. And really, is it better for us to do it online using the tools that we know? Absolutely. So I'm on par with the two of you as well on this one. So we need to find a subject where we don't agree on things. So it's going to be a bit more lively.
I'm going to ask a question. I've been in debate with my colleagues about the experience since I work as well in handling the internship program. And as part of my job, I used to handle like full internship program. We used to host around 500 students per summer, from students coming from different schools, from IE, from schools in Lebanon and abroad. So, and we used to know that our internship program is one of the best internship programs, because we host students not only to intern in a specific department or a branch, but rather than to live an experience. They have workshops they attend, they have one day they go for a volunteering work, they have a lot of experience to do. So now shifting to that, I mean, I can see that a lot of companies, they start doing internship as virtual internship programs. And when I was saying, why don't we start doing a virtual internship program, the debate was about the experience. I mean, the intern today or the students come to the bank or to the company, not only to learn, but to live this experience, waking up early, dressing up, and coming to learn, to see how work operates, and connecting with people around. And I think same thing goes to students. They go to the universities, they get networks with the different instructors, different people, their students around, and it's an experience. So this is what is missing the live, the physical experience, that I don't think, but personally, maybe we do not want it anymore. We don't want this experience to get in touch with the people we don't know. Nevertheless, it's an experience that we enjoyed it, we lived it. A lot of people now will miss it. So what do you think about that? Is that I think it's a debate.
Okay,
I think it's a mix. Basically, I completely agree that there are some people who are going to miss that. And I mean, we're in a business school in Madrid. I am perfectly aware that many of our students come to our business school because it is in Madrid. I mean, there's all sorts of other, but you decide between being sometimes like literally between being at London Business School or IE Business School, which are very comparable business schools, and they say, well, London, it's rainy and cold. Why would I do that instead of going to Madrid? And I could just, take a ride to Barcelona, Valencia, and be at the beach, or Malaga. Like, this is an actual decision point for many people, and I'm sure as well for jobs. I mean, especially in the US, when I've heard a lot of people like, oh, I've always wanted to live in this city, so I'm going to look for a job there. Like now, why would, I mean, you can look for a job anywhere, you can just work from home. So there is going to be struggle and tension between these two things. I'm sure there's going to be. I don't have a clear cut like, oh yeah, we're going to go this way and nobody's going to go that way. I think it's going to be very, very hard to go for that. And there's many schools and universities and learning programs that are going to maintain both elements. I think the blended and hybrid and these things are going to be there.
The beauty of the situation today is that we have a choice now. Digital tools allow us to decide. So some people, as Lillian said, are going to be more comfortable having classes physically because they want the interaction, they want to be able to have the class in front of them and everything. And other people are going to feel much more comfortable doing the digital way. So, 60 people class is going to be divided into, exactly as Rob said, one part will be physically there, another part is going to be online. And this is what's great is we make it the personalization of all the services and solutions that we have today, thanks to digital, is making it possible. Again, 10, 20 years ago, you guys were not even born. That's why I can talk about it. We didn't have a choice. We had to go to school. We had to see the teacher. We had to do the test in front of the teachers. That used to be the world. And now we have this evolution where we have a choice. And I personally think it's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have told our supervisors not 10 years ago, 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I want to work from home 1 day a week. You know what the answer was, right?
No. No,
it's not because I thought that they'd see me as slacking off or not. You know what the answer was? The answer was obviously no. Right now, before February, I don't think you'll be going to the office more than once a month.
Correct.
Actually, I see, and I can talk about it from an L&D perspective because this is my expertise. As Nicholas said, people will have choices to select. Either they want to do it physically or to make it virtually, because most of people was complaining to me since I was working as a training and then a training manager that they do not feel free, that they should attend to the company every day from far places just to take the training and then return back to their cities. And they should interact with all of people. However, they do not, or the type of the job itself do not require this. then it's all about choice. I see that it will be a good opportunity for companies and in different sections and industries to give people the choice if you want to come to the training or the physical place, or you want to make it online. People who would select to make it online, most probably they would like to do this either to save some money for the transportation, reallocating from place to another, from city to another, or they feel free or much better when there is less distraction. They are sitting in their own space, let's say their own comfort zone, having the or taking the training. Some people like these kind of environment.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Let's now turn about talking about the digital transformation. Let's go back to Nicholas. While thinking about digital transformation for my company, and to be honest, now a lot of people who were resisting this part, they are now totally thinking about doing this. Then how can gamification and the power of it be added into my plan while I'm thinking for a digital transformation part?
Yes, thank you. That's a very good question. Digital transformation is not about digital, and that's the main point that I want to make today. Digital transformation is about change management, and it's about people. You have to put people at the center of a transformation program. If you don't, you fail. I've been involved with this business for a very long time, and I've seen companies just thinking, oh yeah, we're just going to impose some digital tools and it will work. I can guarantee you it won't. So if you put people in the center of everything, and if you put change management as the main KPI or the main focus for the transformation, then you find that gamification being all about engagement of the people, then gamification will help tremendously, because gamification is adding an element of fun, what Gabe Zickerman calls the funware, and that funware, you have it with people. So people not only are going to get engaged because they have more fun, but also they will like to make the change. If there's one thing in the world that people hate, it's change. You're not comfortable with change, and we're all the same. It's very difficult to change your way of working, to change your way of living. Here, COVID has made a lot of changes possible, and very quickly. So in order to motivate people, you can use gamification. Why would you need to motivate people today? Number one, for example, as we've seen during COVID, we've had a lot of cancellations of contracts, of hotels, of restaurants, wherever it stays open, of rental cars, of rental homes, of any non-essential purchases that people would see. We've seen that new businesses have been down. We've seen that all the predictive models that we've put together prior to COVID were irrelevant because nobody had predicted COVID, obviously. So what we need to do in the digital transformation post-COVID, pretty much, is now we need to keep our customer close, making sure that at least we build that link between the brand and the customer. We need to bring our costs down. Obviously, that hasn't changed much, but it's one very important element. We have new competitors coming in because we've seen with this disruptive way of doing business. And thank God we have startups and innovation because it has made our confinement, easy to live with, because you had companies thinking about new tools and new ways of doing businesses or new ways of living, even confined. We have to do more personalization of services where customers have the power, and that's very important, even more. It's always been the case, but companies, I'm a big company and I know what my customers want and I know what's best for them. Well, this doesn't exist anymore. We need to speed to market capabilities. You need to make sure that at least it's faster. You need to have improved modeling, and obviously you need to go into the cloud, because we've seen that during this time, suddenly internet was being used 100,000 million times more than it used to be before COVID. And so the cloud allowed this relevance and the fact that at least it's more flexible and you can use as you go and as you wish. So gamification being all about engagement and making sure that at least all the points that I've just listed will be improved, because the experience will be improved, because people will have fun in non-fun activities. That's why I always put an element of gamification in all my digital transformation process, And it has really helped me in making sure that at least I was successful in those activities.
I think that as you were saying, Nicholas, I think one of the main elements in digital transformation is the actual transformation. It's not, and the transformation happens not, I mean, you said that, I'm not going to repeat the whole how it works, but the thing is, you have to, as in gamification, and I think this is a good time for us to like bring it to the table, because I'm not sure we've mentioned it before. Like in gamification, one of the things that you are considering is what are the motivations, what are the habits, what's in people's minds. Why would they want to do whatever it is you're asking them to do it? And of course, the first element is the ethical one. I mean, you're not going to push them to do something they don't really want to do. But once you've passed that barrier and you're doing something that they would actually benefit from and they'd be happy about doing if they were considering it like correctly, you're using gamification exactly for what it's meant for. You're telling people, look, this change is going to happen. This change is going to be good for you. How do we help you achieve that change? And you're incentivizing, you're thinking about their motivation, you're thinking about the human being that is behind the computer, that is being used, and you're thinking about what's going to do for them, and how you are going to design for this process to happen and for it to happen correctly, so that it has all these consultants like yourself, you analyze what are going to be the positive consequences of doing this transformation. For that transformation to happen, you had to get people to do those things. And I'm very happy to have you here, because that's exactly what you do. And I always argue about the importance of, again, considering the human being that is there. And it's so darn easy to forget about it. And it's not just nowadays with the computers, it's always been there.
You're absolutely right, because on top of it, it's a change for the leaders of the companies. So they're not comfortable with that, like the same way their staff is not comfortable. So you're absolutely right. If you don't put the people in the middle, and that brings back to what Lillian was saying about HR as well, you have to have people in the middle. And whether it's customers, whether it's employees, whether it's anybody who basically has any link with the brand, have to be in the middle of everything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm currently, actually, yesterday was looking about that. I'm looking for the main reasons why change failed to happen in an organization is because they ignore the people factor. So, and they ignore the main thing is that people might have two different mindsets. Some might have that growth mindset, and other the fixed mindset, and then they have to work on that. So the growth that they are interested in a change and they are looking for a change, and other the fixed mindset that they do not look at that change as a way to grow rather than as a risk. So from here it comes that yes, how to play it in a way to make it fun, to make it a change, and at the same time to have a concern about your human people. There, it's a gamification tool. So I totally agree with you, both Nicholas and Rob, in terms of concentrating and putting effort first on people, and rather than comes the other tools when you have to make a change in any way you are doing. And this is what's happening currently, and this is the role of an HR to do that now. So now we are facing this change, the change from working remotely, the changing of integrating, using new tools and new technology, shifting into training online. So, and gamification can be used in a lot of ways. I tried to use gamification and keeping employees productive and motivated while working from home, and this is a change. I tried to use gamification for people who are now, they need to take a couple of courses or trainings in order for them and their work, and to make it in a fun way. Other than that, they will definitely, those who have a fixed mindset or those that they are not really motivated or adaptable or have the flexibility, they won't seek a new change, and they would see it not an opportunity rather than it's a crisis. Yes, I
and
agree.
I'm going to give you a good example of what we've just been saying all together. 2 or 3 years ago, I was working for a large company, and I started to work like I always do, putting people in the middle. And the CEO of the company was really bothered by my approach. He said, no, but just bring us some new tools. And I said, no. First, I want to do an audit. I want to understand how you work and everything. And actually, during the process, I realized that these guys had all the digital tools in place. They were just not using them correctly. So it was transforming the way they were selling boxes, from selling boxes to selling solutions. That was the transformation in itself, which meant that making sure that people were not working in silos, which meant that all the silos will be open, even if that means that behind that you put a blockchain algorithm or blockchain technology behind it. So at least the silos, the data will flow and stuff like that. But at least they had all the basic tools. And the CEO was upset with me because I didn't provide him with new tools. And because I told him, say, you don't need to invest more with what you have. Your tools are very adequate. Your tools are relevant. Your tools are great. It's just they need to make sure that throughout your company, everybody's using the same tools, and that at least you have consistency of the activity. And that's why it was really strange to him that as a consultant, I didn't come and tell him you need to spend $1 million on this type of tools. So digital transformation, I like the term because obviously it shows about future and the vision and everything, but it's very rarely about digital. It's really, guys, think about another way of doing your business today. So at least your customers have the power, they have the power, but at least they are very powerful in handling your company as a provider.
Yeah.
Okay, then before we continue our panel, we got a question on Facebook from Mustafa. He's asking about how gamification can be embedded in financial technology.
We've seen gamification embedded in many technologies. For example, CRM tools. Salesforce is using gamification to make sure at least salespeople get the data in, that they have healthy competition between sales, and so in finance it's going to be pretty much the same. You can because it depends what size companies, but big companies like we wanted to close business, like a day after, at least in terms of financial results, we wanted to have the data done and analyzed a day after closing. So if it was 31st of March, like on the 1st of April, pretty bad date. I should have chosen another date, but at least the data was done. And so the way you can implement gamification, because again, it's about engaging people, and in finance, that's the main thing, is you need to make sure that data is entered correctly, and you need to make sure data is analyzed correctly. So it's just putting some focus and make sure that people get the fun element, so at least they will do their job more engaged, and they will also do it in a way that it's fast and consistent. And so I don't see any problems using gamification in any. To me, all activities in a business sense can use gamification.
Yeah, I agree. In all sector, we can see it as well now in the healthcare sector, in any sector, any industry, gamification can be used.
That there's I'm going to go like in the opposite direction. You're thinking about how to use it like on the back end. How about the front end? Like I've seen exciting examples of how to get people to save more. There's, and this is, the Americans are very good at showing their numbers and finding their numbers. So I sometimes use that data to show some of the things going on. But many of the average Americans are, they don't have, if they have an emergency of whatever, like I think the figure was something like $100, they wouldn't be able to come up with that money. And it doesn't mean they're not making enough money to be able to handle that. It just probably means most of the times they're just not putting those $5 a month in a savings account to be able to save that. And there is an element there where you think, well, what is the motivation behind this? They're spending on things that maybe they don't need. Maybe they're not organizing or structuring their spending. And I mean, I'm a crazy person with the Excel. My wife can tell you all about it. Like every single euro that we spend, we put it on an Excel so we know how much we're spending, and we're like, I keep that like under a lot of control. But I understand, and I'm aware that I'm a maniac on that, and that's an extreme. And most people get no pleasure whatsoever from doing that. Actually, it's a pain. So how do you get people to structure their budget and to be able to save if what they want to do is spend? So there you think, well, what are the motivations? What are the things that are there? What are their habits? Why would they even want to do this? And I've seen very exciting gamification solutions there. I've seen something, I think it was in gamification, in Gamicon in the US, like the first edition in Chicago. I think it was there was this person who was creating a product, an e-learning product for people from the military to not spend, basically not, they were getting the money for their first time. These are 18-year-olds who are for the first time making money, and they come out of their base and there's somebody standing out there like waiting for, I'm gonna sell you something, and they're taking their money in the best of ways, and they're getting into loans, and then they can't even pay these loans, and are investing in ridiculously expensive cars, for example. Like, how do you get to explain these people that if they spend on that stupid car that they're not going to need in any capacity, they're not going to be able to save for a home or for whatever it is that they need? So there again, thinking about those elements and thinking about how to help people get to something that they actually really want to get to, but don't really have the motivation. And it happens the same thing with, and finance and exercise are the same in that sense. It's something that we all know is good for us, and we're not driven to do most of the times.
And another example in the financial world is Intuit. I'm not trying to make any advertising.
Are you financially invested in Intuit?
I have no interest in Intuit, but Intuit is actually, because gamification is about engagement, so it could be also about UX, so user experience, right? And Intuit is using colors and UX pushed to the limit, if I could say, to make it fun to do things, to enter data and everything. So you're right, there are two sides, and I went straight into the B2B,
which is good.
financial, as the question said. But you're right, there's also the side of the consumer. What can you do to optimize your budget? What can you do and gamification can help you with that. Gamification is a marketing technique. I mean, it's basically making sure people engage, whether it's a company, whether it's a consumer. And that's why, if you look at all the projects today, it's pretty rare not to find, I work for a company here in e-health. We do diabetes management, and we've used gamification to make it fun for patients to enter their glycemia level. So it's a wheel. So you once you've pricked yourself and you got your blood, you have your glycemia level. You have a wheel that tells you, and then you have colors that are fun to see or say, wow, great, and you can see if you're in hyper or hypo. I know it's it could be scary, but we make the experience as fun as we can, even with a disease as bad as diabetes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna here add, just to go back to the financial thing, this is what I've mainly worked on and started my first project in gamification. This is the board game, the financial literacy board game is about spending and saving money. And this is what the game is about. I teach students and kids mainly that ages range between 11 up to 12, 13, 14, in the way how you spend and the save and the importance of money. And when they finish the game, they will realize that it's not only that a matter of money and who spends or saves more, it's about the decisions that they take. And this is how you start to teach people how you have to take a decision, smart decisions in your life. So when they are playing this game, they will have a questions like, do you want to buy a new bicycle and pay $10, or you will fix your old one, let's say, and only save those $10? And here they start taking a decision, and they start asking themselves twice whether they buy or they save their money. So I do believe that, yes, I experienced this financial literacy board game, and it was a huge success, basically, because I can see that the students and the kids that they are playing the game, they start to know the importance of spending and savings. Before then, if you tell them, save the money, I'll give you $25 and save them for you to go out with your friends, they won't save it because they will see the importance of savings. But now when you are playing them a game and you see that they are competing with their friends who will save more and what decisions they will take, they see it as a fun way, and at the same time the importance of saving and spending. So I totally agree with you though.
There's just a quick, small, there was an experiment that they did, and they followed these kids. I think it's the marshmallow experiment or something like that. They sat a kid in front of the table, and now there's a popular version of this. And they told the kid, look, if you wait until I come back and don't grab that marshmallow there, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. If you eat it, you can just eat it, but you won't get 2, you'll just get that one.
Yeah.
And they followed these kids throughout, like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years or something like that. And the ratio of success of being able to delay that pleasure was a fantastic predictor for, again, you can argue what success looks like, but that they were able to measure this and see within those measures, again, which of these were more successful? And of course, the ones that were able to delay success had a hugely higher ratio of success. So there is kind of something that is maybe built in, maybe cultural, maybe, I'm not sure where exactly that stands, but there is an element there. And that's a question, like, how do we get those kids that were not able to delay that pleasure of grabbing the marshmallow and eating it? How can we get them to say, grab those $10 and save them? And so I think it's a great element that you were mentioning there, Vivian.
Yeah, and actually, Lilian, I think you, with your example, you answered Mustafa again about second thing he posted in the comments. He was saying, I think that gamification can be used expansively in training and consultation in the financial and banking field. However, but how to embed it in e-learning? Then I think your example is answering this question.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about the game, how to use the game inside the e-learning to make people more motivated to just do it. And actually, it's one of the basic things in learning, what's in it for me, but how to implement it using the gamification techniques.
Oh, don't get me started on that topic. I could spend the whole night here. I mean, like, again, think 100 years ago, no computers, no nothing. Most kids didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So people who did get to that opportunity were excited. Learning was exciting, and we managed. We did a great job at extracting all of the exciting elements from learning. And now learning is like, oh, I have to read that book. Oh my God, I have to do this. Learning is exciting. Let's bring that back. And gamification is definitely an element there. And again, thinking about who are your players, thinking about what's your objective, thinking about what's a learning objective. Designing using what we've learned from games, and you can get there. And this is what I mean. This is what we do. many of us, we do in a daily basis. And this is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but everyone can do it. I mean, you can train yourself to see things, and if you put these gamification lenses on, and you see the world through this lens of motivation, habits, and gamification, you can say, well, that you're doing there is an application of gamification. Whether it was thought by that way or not, that's not necessarily relevant. The important thing is that you're considering the human element for all these things, and you're thinking, well, I have these learners sitting down here in the class. Why would they be here? If they had to pay for my class, would they pay for it? Like literally for just my class, not their whole master's or bachelor's degree. If they had to choose my class or another class, would they pay for my class? And that's where you have to, and again, it's not just a marketing gimmick. It's you want them to be there, and you want for them to want to be there and learn and understand what's there. And this can be massively difficult. I taught quantitative methods. If you're a business student, why in the world would you want to be in my class? You probably don't want to. Like, you listen to the word and say, quantitative methods, I want to run away from that class. How do you get the people to be excited about that? That's really rough and difficult, because the marketing classes, not everybody. There's a lot of people excited about marketing when you go and study business. There's a lot of people who are excited about HR when they're studying business, about finance, and all these things. Nobody's excited about, statistics and watching, predictive models and these things. Maybe if you talk about big data, maybe they think about that in AI, but you're not really teaching them AI or big data. You're teaching like foundational basic skills for them to be able to build on that if they are. So again, it's deconstructing all of those things, and it is something to manage. It is an art and it's a science to craft. It's the combination of these two. But there is a lot of things to do there. There's a huge amount of people doing great things. You can listen to some of them in the podcast. You can read a lot of those books. There is like a huge amount. It's a massive topic for sure. Yeah. And I started with that, like the online interactive learning experiences. That's one of the things that we create. So that's one example of how you can do that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and now let's go about our turn back to the part of people and how people can do things differently and why. Then this question will be with Lilian about how to inhale positivity and exhale stress during COVID-19.
Yeah, I was known that from day one, we've been in crisis, I say, in Beirut before COVID-19, ongoing crisis from October, the economic, political issues. We've been in really crisis since before COVID. But here the fact how you can see it. For me, I was always positive from day one. I do always seek better opportunities, seek positiveness in everything I do and I pass through in my life. I'm honestly saying that everyone passed through ups and downs, but I do say that if you will be positive, you will attract this positivity, and negative, you will attract the negativity. And this is, you say that it's easy to be said, but it's easy as well to be done. And this is what I've done. So, going through COVID-19 was a real crisis where we had to stay at home. We had to no longer interact with anybody. We have to face the crisis, and it was way bigger than what we were facing before. So I had to think about something to stay positive. And when I say about that, I didn't meant only myself. I had also the community, family members, friends around. So having said that, I come from an HR background. I do care about people. I do care about the humanity around me. So this comes the fact that why not spread positivity around? I spread it in gamification. I spread it in starting to play games, to send COVID awareness through games. You earn points to start to telling them, let's wake up early. Let's take a picture of how's your home office look like, and let's compete and challenge. Let's take a selfie and see what are you dressing today. And then the second part come when we have to challenge in order to work out, not longer sit Netflix and chill will not work anymore. So let's do some workouts and serious workouts and challenge each other. So I tried to gamify this as well. We had to do workouts and we had to earn points, and then we had to challenge each other. And then after all, I started to saying games that might be of interest and sharing with my network. And from here, I can say that from day one, I saw this crisis as an opportunity to get to know new people. If crisis wouldn't happen, maybe we didn't have to do this webinar today. It's an opportunity to meet new people. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to connect with families around. So you can see it in both ways. It's all in the mindset. Whether you want to see it as a positive or in a negative way, it's a mindset. So if you want to see it as a positive way, you won. And if a negative way, you are still way where you had left you before COVID. So it's always in the mindset of the person. And that's why I always say that always inhale positivity and exhale stress. There is nothing worth it. There's a lot of opportunities. And here comes the different types of people, and those who seek uncertainty, those who wants to go out of their comfort zone, those who see this opportunity to come up with the new ideas, new startups. It's a completely change for all over people around the world. It's the future is now, and it's the opportunity to come up with the new ideas. We shouldn't have I know it's a crisis. A lot of people have lost their job, but from an HR point of view, I don't think that now it's the time to start looking for a new job or looking what the market will need. We have to start to think, what do we have, and to come up with the new ideas, it's an entrepreneurial age. So why not start coming up with the new ideas? We all have something different. We all have something that we can come up with. And when you start thinking and coming up with the new ideas, you see that you can do it. So from COVID till now, I came up with the different ideas that, okay, I will not do all of them, but at least I did. And this is great. And I do believe that if I can do that, everyone can do that. I'm not a super woman, so everyone have the power to do it. So why not, people? It's not a matter of if you want to see COVID as a negative crisis, I lost my job, no longer job opportunities, you will stay where you are. No, think from a different perspective. Go outside of the box. Do not limit yourself to the opportunities, to the job market, to the crisis around the world. It's a time to start going really out from our comfort zone, and you will see people around, community around, word around in a positive way. So this is my only thing to say to people, that it's a matter how do you see it. If you see it in a positive way, everything will be positive. In a negative way, truly you will see nothing but crisis. So seek it as an opportunity.
I want to make a pause on that comment, because I'm sorry about that. That was my because I think it is a tough time for many. I understand the whole positivity thing, and I tend to be that guy that says, oh, but it's going to be okay. But then I also want to make a pause here, because I do know of people. In fact, one of our professors lost his mom, and he couldn't even say goodbye. He couldn't even. I mean, that there are like difficult things going on. I'm not saying it's new. People are suffering every day. There's many things going on, but it has been tough. I mean, many things that wouldn't have happened otherwise have happened. And again, job loss hits different people in different ways. So I would just wanted to make a pause because I feel like very, very lucky myself, my wife, and many of us. I think we're in a lucky, good spot, however you want to see it. But I do feel fortunate or blessed because I haven't lost my job. I'm doing something that I like. Like I think we're in a very good position. And staring at people and saying, well, this is just an opportunity. Well, it's hard. I'm not saying there is not an opportunity. There probably is, but it's really hard. And it is also a time, and you mentioned this as well, to stop and maybe reflect on what's going on. And one of the things is taking it all in. Like, there is a crisis, there are bad things. You have to, I've been very much into meditation, which is not related, but that's one of the things of, taking it all in, accepting the things that are happening. And that can be hard and harsh, taking it all in and seeing, and standing then and saying, well, what's happened has happened. There's, the Gandalf phrase in The Lord of the Rings, it's not about choosing the time you live in, but what do you do in the time that that was assigned to you somehow, magically or otherwise. So, again, standing there, realizing, having the whole pain go through, and again, all the loss that many people have gone through. And again, probably you can stand there and try to look at it like, what can I take from this? What can I learn from this? What are the opportunities that, even though I might be grieving, or bad things have happened, what can I do even though that is there? And it's very, very important, very, very difficult. And the other side, because I also have friends that have had depression and all these things, there is a way out there. You're not alone. There's many people out there, and go seek help if you need it. So I just wanted to have that positive message, which I love, but also like cater for people who are not necessarily there and might be listening as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to balance it out here as well. No. But the main point here is we realize that with this crisis, a lot of people have lost their lives, a lot of people have lost their jobs, but we've never seen, except during Second World War, people being so connected, even if it's using tools. But people, my neighbors are pretty old people. I hope they don't listen to this, by the way. But
they're literally listening to the walls, probably.
But I have friends who are oyster farmers. We're a town in France where we have a lot of oysters and everything, and my friends will every Saturday bring me oysters because they know I love that. But I always took some for my neighbors, and that allowed me to know my neighbors even more and everything. So in every crisis, that's why I'm leveling it out between the two of you, again, being in the middle. But in every crisis comes an opportunity. There's a great kanji character in Japanese, which means ki, on one kanji character, which is the crisis, and the other ki, which is a ki. The other ki is actually about the opportunity. So every crisis comes a big opportunity. And that's why I have friends also who have a deep depression and everything, and they've lost their loved ones. They couldn't go to funerals because only 2 people were allowed in, or things like that. And it's been terrible. I mean, we can't, I think we'll agree on that. This COVID thing has just been a big shock to everyone, and no family has been safe from this. But at the end, it's the way you rebound, and everybody will rebound. I know when you're deep down in a hole, you don't feel like it, but at the end you will see the light. And so it's all about, pre-COVID and now, how can we progress and evolve in order to find a way out, even if it takes time. The thing is, life is short, obviously, but we have time. If it takes months, if it takes years to get out, that's what will happen. But at least COVID has taught us a very good life lesson. Is take care of the loved ones, take care of people who are close to you that you can take care of, because you're allowed to go see your neighbor, or you're allowed at least to talk with a mask or things like that. And that to me has made me feel much more positive about humankind. So that was my philosophic topic about the 10:05 p.m. in France right now.
Same in
Okay,
Madrid.
very good. Actually, Ronnie on the comments of Facebook added two things. He's saying people did see the value of a lot of things during COVID-19, and also people became more creative during COVID-19.
I mean, definitely. I can tell you, like, I can even talk from my personal experience. Again, I had done things online. I had done like small things online, but I hadn't taught a full class online, and I had to come up with that in like Nicholas said, like 2 or 3 days. I did have a little bit more, but I did have to do like a full redesign of my operations course, which again was the first time I was teaching that course in particular. So
That's why.
there are definitely things in common. There are things that you repeat, but one of the things I wanted to do is I was going to take them to a factory. Like how you can't take your students to a factory and see the processes happening in a factory if you don't go to the factory.
Yeah.
So
AR.
and there was a big
VR, VR or AR would have helped you.
it would have helped me, but then yeah, I mean there are complications. I agree, and there with again, if I had had more time, if I had thought from this from the beginning, the situation would have been another one. But it just wasn't there. Again, these are the times that came to us. This was the class I had to teach, and the class was online. What do you do? Well, that's where you come up, and I can tell you like from personal experience. And from many people, when you're facing a crisis, where again the crisis is not fatal for what you're facing, you have to come out of it somehow, and you do. And it is a crisis opportunity kind of situation, as Nicholas was mentioning. You know, you are in the situation, and you say, well, how do I come out? And you have to start asking yourself questions. What do I do? What do I have to do different? What skills do I need that I have or don't have? And you come out of it. It is definitely as the only thing that I would say is that the difference between the everyday situation and a situation like this one is that here we're like pushed off the cliff and say, well, are you going to fly or are you not going to fly? That's the basic difference. Before we were like flapping around, trying to fly, you know, you could spend days, weeks or months in flight or not. But, you know, now we're like, okay, go ahead, fly. You have like 20 seconds.
I agree with you, Rob. It's like we had to face it. We didn't have an option, and this is true. Again, I say yes. I do say to people, you have to inhale positivity and exhale stress, but doesn't mean that we've been all living in la la land. We've been in a crisis. I know that it's not easy. I know that we have lost lives. We have lost people we love. We lost moments. I mean, a moment that places that we want to go, places that we'd love to see. Moments that we have really enjoyed if we were all together, gatherings, parties, anything. But it's only that, again, I say it's hard times, and we have to think about it in a different way. We have either to fly or whether we will fall. I do agree with you, Rob, but it's all in the mindset. Again, I say we all pass through hard times, but it's a matter of mindset. It's a matter of how do we think about things. And we are here today to say that for me personally, I think about this life as a game. So either you win or you lose. So since I gamify everything, I'm starting gamifying my life, and I'm starting playing around. And this is what I do say. Our life is a game, and how do you play it? It's a matter of how you win, how you go into next levels, how do you wake up and to continue your levels. So
Respawn. That's very important.
yeah. Yes. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good mindset, Lilian, to make my life like a game. It's a good approach.
Yeah, start gamifying your life.
Talking about experiential learning, I was going to deliver a live workshop on gamification. Now it's online.
Yeah.
You know, there are ways to get around these things. And again, these are problems these are business problems, these are learning problems, and we come up with solutions, and there's things that can be done. And when you have to do them, you just do them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, following this conversation, Rob, let's continue your part about how can gamified learning multiply the learning impact in the classroom if we will return back to the classroom after COVID-19, because actually this was part of Ronnie's question we covered before about do you think people will return back to normal like 5 months ago, or they will adapt with the new life? Then let's say if we will return back to the classrooms.
So two things. It's like after, you know, the 2008 crisis, did people go back to normal with all the things that happened? Well, definitely not. Things changed. I mean, there's things that are going to change, and sometimes you just It's like when they say opening a can of worms. You can't put the worms back inside the can. It's a very visual, you open it and the worms start coming out, and you can't close it back. So that's going to happen. Some things are out of the box, and you can't put them back in the box. There will be people coming back to physical classrooms. There will still be virtual classrooms as well, which existed before and are probably going to be raising more and more questions, and people are going to be more and more willing to do that more than before. Not necessarily everybody's going to go online. For people who do come back to classrooms, and again, but this applies, I wouldn't say this only applies to physical or online classrooms. There are many ways in which you can multiply this, and some of them, and again, I like to say this because sometimes when people think of gamification, they think of, I don't know, I just published an Instagram, like, are you more of a Spider-Man on PS3 or the one that came out on PS4? And you think about that game, it's like this guy slinging around New York. It's a physical representation with Central Park of New York. Like, there's so many things, so many developers, visual art, like so many things involved. This is so complex. This is a company that invests millions, makes millions as well. And you say, well, but I'm just a professor sitting in my office. Like, what do I have to do with this? And you're not creating Spider-Man for the PS5. What you're doing is you're taking lessons from what you see, again, in Spider-Man, what you can see in Tetris, what you can see in a board game, what you can see. We're taking the lessons from gamification to understand that and bring it into our classrooms. And in the case, again, of classrooms. And there are many things that you can do there. Sometimes the lesson is, there is a game out there which is a learning game, or it is even a commercial game, and you can bring it into your classroom and to understand and get those lessons. And that could be, again, we're talking about gamification. You could be onboarding using something like that and see what others are doing, experience it yourself with your own students, and then say, well, I think they did a great job at this one, but I haven't found something for this other topic. How about I create it myself? I'm very focused on topic by topic because it's a lot of what we do. But then you could also be thinking, well, I have all these small elements. How do I bring them all together and have a whole system for my class, which could be a gamified system or sort of a game for my classroom? And again, you don't have to think about, digital transformation of your classroom. Nicholas, I'm calling your attention. You don't have to only think about that. You have to think about, what does it mean? What are those elements that you're going to bring? And sometimes it has, Google spreadsheets or an app. There's many things out there. There's Blue Rabbit Class. There's Classcraft. There's all sorts of things out there. Kahoot. There's things that you can help integrate into your classroom. Or you could even think about, how do I keep a scoreboard? Sometimes a scoreboard is just like a thing you're drawing there. And I mean, nowadays everybody has a computer, so you can have a Google spreadsheet as well and have that scoreboard there. And what are you going to be scoreboarding? Like, I want to focus the attention not on the technology that you're using, as Nicholas is talking about companies, but what are you using that for? What do you want to achieve? Like, I want to achieve more engagement. All right. What are your students usually engaged with? What are their habits? What are they motivated by? What are they interested in? Why are they in your classroom? And grab from all those things and bring them together. Take lessons from games. You can use game mechanics. You can use many elements from games and other strategies and bring them back into your classroom. And that's where I want to call your attention to. I'm definitely not going to stand here and give a talk about a full masterclass on how to do this because I don't think we have the time or the focus, the attention for this. But this is a whole discipline of gamification, and there are many things you can do. Maybe the first step is, again, go out there and see what is already around. There's people, I had a guest, Zach Hartzman, which was from Hey Listen Games. He has he has syllabuses of teachers who have taught things with games. You can just grab one of those if they adapt to your classroom and use it and see how it goes. You say, well, this went terrible. I didn't like this game. The students didn't like it. Let me change it for something else. But now you've had the experience. You're just like game designers and game developers. You're checking out and you're testing out and you're play testing in your classroom. See what works, see what doesn't, and start building from that.
Yes.
Yeah,
have to
totally agree with you.
Experience, and you have to consider your students, and you have to consider the objective and the motivations. So
I was actually trying to remember the Spider-Man game that we came out with, because that's a Sony game, because Spider-Man is a Sony movie, and they actually came out with PlayStation 2. That's what I was trying to remember.
The original one, really?
Yeah, the first one was for the first Spider-Man.
True.
And that was Spider-Man, and the PlayStation 5 is almost ready to come out.
I have to correct myself. That's true. It's PS2.
The first one, I mean, the first version, which was very limited compared to now, but it was a great game. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong, and believe me, at my age, memory can be an issue. But I think I remembered it. That's why I was writing down the dates, thinking. I think it's pretty much when I was in London, and that was PlayStation 2 then, because I remember the launch of PlayStation 2 and 3 and 4. Sorry.
That's true. I'll correct that after our interactions here.
Okay, then let's go now for the conversation with you, Nicholas, about how can gamification make a difference in my marketing strategy? Because we talked about the marketing. Let's take more the conversation to it.
Yep, I want to start with a story here. I love stories. Back in 2004, so I was at Sony. It was 2005. I was at Sony, and I was really struggling with the idea of thinking, you enter a shop, any type of shops, Dixon's, whatever, electronic shops, and you have all these TVs lined up. You have the LGs, the Samsung, the Philips, the Sony, the Panasonic. I mean, pretty much all the brands. And you are dependent only on the salesperson on the floor to say the Sony one is the best one, which I still believe, by the way, but I don't have any more links with Sony. So as I was thinking, how can I get, I'm a big gamer. I've always been a big gamer. I've started with PS1. I started even before I had the Atari, the first Atari one that, Donkey Kong and Pac-Man, which by the way was Pac-Man's birthday, I think yesterday or the day before. Just as a parenthesis here. And sometimes, you're in a game and you spend like 2-3 hours and you're out of it, and you look at your watch and say, wow, where has time gone? You're so engaged, you're so involved in the game that, you're just in the game, you're just part of the game. And I was thinking, how can I make this happen for a customer in front of a TV? The idea at the time, with one of my colleagues at Sony was that let's do some advertisings that were just totally different. So we had three advertisings that I didn't invent. One of my colleagues invented, where we had the balls rolling out of the streets in San Francisco. And instead of, as usual, an advertising where you show the product and you show all the features of the product, we decided to have a multicolor ball. We had about 200,000 balls going down the streets of San Francisco. And at the end of the ad, we had colors like no other and the photo of the Sony TV. Then the second one was the paint like no other. It was again colors like no other, but we used paint in a building in Glasgow, a building that was about to get destroyed. And we did like firework using paint. Again, color like no other. And the last one was rabbits in the streets of New York, and rabbits would come in all colors, and it was model rabbits, and it was and the success was just unbelievable. And people were looking at it saying, oh yeah, that's the ad I absolutely love. And so we had created a connection between the brand and the consumer. So gamification can do that. We make something fun. Like buying a TV is not always fun because again, you have so much choice. You have no idea where to start looking. You have to, it's work. It's having somebody in front of you telling you that you don't know, basically telling you which one is the best. And that person has been paid more by a brand or another one if they promote the Samsung brand, is that the Samsung guys probably came behind, and then he gave him a bigger check or he has a bigger bonus than the others. So how to make your experience closer to the brand that you're looking into. And that's my story of why at the time, it was 2004, nobody talked about gamification, but it was just using game mechanics to make sure that at least I would have the same experience filling out a survey or being loyal to a brand or things that really we don't want to do, but at the end of the day can be fun. If you put your mind behind something and if you wake up in the morning and say, oh, today I'm going to have a shitty day, sorry about my French, I'm allowing myself on this one, then you're going to have a bad day, right? But if you say, no, I know that today is going to be a good day, and you put your mind at this, and you have fun in the process, that's how you get engaged, and that's how basically gamification is really a superpower for marketing. I've been using gamification, as I said, since 2004, 2005. I was head of communication and product marketing at the time at Sony Europe. We had 2,000 products that we were launching. So we had great products like Aibo, as I mentioned, a fun product, but we had memory sticks. You know, that's not very fun. We had obviously TVs, we had camcorders, we had cameras, we had many products. And how could we get, you know, the link between the consumer and the brand? That's where gamification comes in. And as marketing is only about that. I mean, people tell you that marketing is about doing events and things like that. Yeah, it's part of it, but marketing is really how to make sure that the product which is already on the market is connected to consumer, so at least that consumer will have no problem buying a product, even if it's a little bit more expensive. Sony was always 10% more expensive, but because of that, people thought, you know, I'm buying quality. I know if I buy a Sony product, and I'm sure you've all that experience before the year 2005, you would buy a Sony product because you would know that your products work. Today, I still have products, you know, from 1996 when I joined Sony, like mini discs, Walkmans, like even Walkmans with cassettes, they're still working. And that's why you would pay 10% premium, because you knew that you would buy a good product. And so we just had to make sure that at least in the buying process, people would still have fun. And that's why I've been using gamification. I'm sure Rob or Lilian on that will have more experience as well. But that was my experience.
Very interesting. Actually, the user experience and how to make it fun, that's really top way to use gamification and marketing. Now the user experience is a focus in all functions and in all industries and sectors, whether in the banking, in technology, in retail, in FMCG. They care about the customer and about the user. We are living in a very competitive world, and it's a matter of what you deliver and what you give to your customer, and how to be transparent, and knowing and how to do it in a gamified way. It's very fun and it's very useful for the customers as well. So yeah, using it as a marketing tool is a huge experience to the customer. And this is innovation, basically. Innovation is about, it's about being able to innovate and to deliver the user experience.
Yep.
And you can even think about, I'm sure you've heard of Amy Jo Kim from, the game thinking idea. And there you take an approach of understanding how game designers tend to think, and you combine it with all the systems thinking and design thinking and all these things, and you come up with an idea of how to innovate, how to create new things, and how to do an approach that comes from games. So again, I know it sounds like we're just freakies of games, and we also are, but it's not just about that. It's about, I mean, games have been doing some things very, very well, some other things probably not so well. What can we take from those experiences, and what is translatable? And we've seen these translations work. What can we take from this and bring them to them? Sometimes it's about fun. Sometimes it's about making something that is terribly boring not so bad. Sometimes it's about tapping into those motivations so that people are able to, cope with that or bring their attention back. Again, it could be fun. That could be a good objective. But it's not necessarily always going to be fun. It could be just about bringing people together and tapping into that social element that people have, tapping into that whole creativity, tapping into, that epic meaning, tapping into storytelling. There's all these elements that, again, some of them you might be able to see them outside of gamification as well, but brought together, I see them as an approach, as a lens that you can put on to understand problems in the world. Again, when the problem is not, and don't correct me too much, Nicholas, when it's not technical, the problem is not the technology, because if a technology is broken, you don't fix it necessarily using gamification. You get somebody who knows about the technology and fixes it. But when you start involving humans and what they want and don't want to do, that is where you can bring something like gamification. And as we've mentioned like 20 times already, humans are involved in 99.99% of things that are going on.
Okay, then before we go to the last question in our agenda. Actually, we have two other questions. One is from Zoom and the other one is from the social media. From Zoom, we have a question about, is there any website which guide you to the gamification process?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question correctly.
Sorry, I didn't hear it either.
Yeah, Sameh is asking about, I need an internet site which guide me in the gamification process.
ProfessorGame.com.
Exactly, I was going to say, follow Rob.
Recommend. Highly recommend.
I mean, you can hear to by now 135 people probably that talk about this topic and talk about their processes. I have my own. If you go for the second anniversary, I talk a little bit about mine. I'll be delivering workshops, but there's many people out there. Of course, I'm going to put me or Nicholas or Lillian above, but there's also there's Yukai Chow. I mentioned Amy Jo Kim. I could talk about Ann Koppes. I could talk about Andrzej Marchewski. There's deck cards. There's games. There's books. There's sites. There's courses. There's all sorts of things there. It is a world filled with choice. That's one of the things that gamification allows and games allow us to explore and to see all the choices around. I would actually invite you to do that. If you want to do it through my site, I'm happy to have you to be part of the engagers. If you want to do it through any of the other ones, the Octalysis Explorers is one, the Gamification Hub on Facebook, I don't know, there's so many communities and people talking about this on Twitter, on Instagram. I would just invite you to take a look at that. I don't think there is a definitive, we don't even have a formal definition of gamification nowadays. I have my own, and the one I use, probably one of the most used ones is the use of game elements in non-game contexts. But we've never agreed upon that one. The academics have never either decided what is the best decision on that one. So it's quite flexible. But go out there and find it for yourself. I would actually encourage you to do that, because I could recommend you some things, but they're catered for me. I would have to understand where you're looking at it. What's your perspective? Like I don't know if you see the top shelf, I have different books from different people. One is on marketing, one is more focused on marketing. Others could be more focused on learning. Others could be more focused on, employee engagement. There's different perspectives. So that's what I would invite you to look at that.
Yeah. Okay, and the other question is actually directed directly to Lilian. He's asking Miss Lilian, how can we use gamification to improve your sales team, especially if your team use still old-fashioned ways?
I think Nicholas already mentioned a lot about using gamification in sales, and he gave a huge experience and example about using gamification in sales. It's about all user experience. And again, I say it's not a matter of using gamification, but the matter of how do you use gamification? What are your objectives, and what do you want to gain out of this game that you want to use? So we no longer should be using it the routine or the cliche way in terms of learning or training to sales, to marketing, or any other function. I'm not going to add more than what Nicholas gave in terms of example. He sums it all in a very great way. But again, I say you have to focus on the objective. You have to focus on what do you want to give and what do you want to gain out of this experience. And you have to do it customized as per your team, your industry, your sector, your culture, your people. Again, we say that your people are the main focus, and you have to focus on what do they want to learn, what the skills gap, and you take it from there accordingly. So make it customized, make it gamified way, but always bear in mind and put in mind what you want, what are your main objectives out of it. So yeah, I don't know, maybe Nicholas or Rob can add anything to the question. Do you have
you said it perfectly. No, I don't need to add anything.
Yeah, there's many experiences out there. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. You gave a great.
In fact, sales is like the typical one where there's like the racing and the leaderboards, because sales tends to be more of an environment in which people are more competitive. So if it is competitive environment, and if you see your profiles are very competitive, all of them, or at least most of them, you can insert a lot of competition. That could make sense. But again, that definitely depends on who your audience is and so on. So I think we have for a second lost Mohamed. This is an interesting situation.
Yes. Well, we have a last question. And
I think we're actually running out of time also.
Yeah, exactly. But in any case, if people want to learn about gamification, follow Professor Games and Rob. That's the best line of the evening. He will, no, but
bottom line.
Be very serious here. So you will learn a lot of things and be able to connect with other people as well. So it's great.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we can share the Rob. We can share the website, the link. I'm gonna send it to them by the chat.
Yeah.
Sure, fantastic. Professorgame.com. There's an email list. You can follow the podcast. You can follow the people that
great
go there.
By the way.
Yeah.
It's 10:30. We can afford to be a bit funny. At least, been an hour and a half. We had fun. We learned a lot. I hope everybody learned a lot about HR, about e-learning, about digital transformation, and everything. And so I don't think we're gonna get Mohamed back. So I think we'll have to call it a night like this.
Let me make a last shot and see if he's okay. If he just lost connection or what.
Yeah, it's probably the case.
Yeah, I think he probably lost connection. I was going to have a meeting today with somebody. I think he was in Cairo as well. And he said that there was a general problem there. Hopefully it's not.
Normally it should have been in Lebanon, the problem, but no, it's Cairo today.
Yeah, we are in serious connection problems, electricity connection problems ongoing.
There's this teacher who was the creator of the academic author of many of our materials, and she at some point there was a blackout of electricity, and then she was scared of technology. It's like, well, but how do you relate, general technology to the technology in the classroom failing? How do you mix those two? How does that cross the mind together?
Yeah.
But
here's Mohamed back.
Oh yeah, yes, we have Mohamed back. That's great.
I was just disconnected from one of my networks because I have 3 different networks to make sure that I'm always connected.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, then
we're finished.
Actually, we did. I have only one last question, and usually we ask all our panelists for it in every panel every day. If I want to start learning gamification, what is your practical piece of advice to start learning it? How can I start in this field?
I said it. Go to professorgames.com.
Thank you very much. You're all being very, very kind about that. I do think that there are many resources out there. It can cater to your different learning styles or your different ideas. And again, if you're looking for gamification in marketing, look down gamification in marketing. I had a recent guest on that. If you're looking for gamification in sales, look for gamification in sales. There's going to be different people that cater more specifically to different things, and I think that makes sense. I've had many of those people on the podcast. I have my own way of seeing this, and as I mentioned before in the 2nd anniversary episode, I have like a small piece of 30 minutes talking about that, or probably a bit less. But there's all sorts of approaches. So my recommendation would definitely be that one. And I think we got a question about the medical field. There is definitely applications, but I don't think we have. I'm not an expert in medical field either.
I mentioned the diabetes.
That's true. That's true.
And I've used gamification for UX design, and it's really a big improvement. We have over 2,000 patients now using the system.
Wow.
And obviously it's a terrible disease, and people are very motivated to make it work for them. But they really enjoy using the app. So if you want to have a go, it's one part of the app is free. It's called it's on diablive.com, diablive.com, and you'll see when you use the app. It's a web app as well as iOS and Android, and you can have you can look at how it's been designed. It's only with gamification in mind.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, I do agree with you both, guys. I mean, if you want to learn gamification or how to start in the gamification field, do not only do it because it's a trend or because the idea of gamification. Know why do you want to do it? So link it to your field, link it to your sector, to the industry. Read about it. Now the opportunities to know and to have the knowledge and to learn is huge. And you can know, you can learn, you can hear, you can watch anything at any time. So you have this opportunity. You have Rob, you have professorgame.com, you have a lot of websites and experiences that you can really tackle. And maybe from here it comes the idea of yes, gamification is changing the world, and if you are interested into going into the gamification field and spreading gamification around, it's very important to link it to what do you want to really get out of this gamification sector or industry or field, or whenever you are applying, wherever you are applying it. So yeah, think about it wisely and think about it in a different way. And it's already there and been there already, but how do you do it? It's there, the trick. So
yeah, actually, this is one of the main challenges that I face in iGamify.net since we started as a gamification service provider. Most of people come to us, we want to apply gamification. They always get my question, why? Then why do you want to apply it? It's not fitting with all kind of people, all kind of industries. It depends about why do you want to use it and when and with who. And other people, I faced a challenge with them is they always think that gamification is the PBL model, the points badge and leaderboard only. I tell them, no, it's not like this. There's a lot of mechanics, a lot of dynamics, a lot of components, a lot of users type. You should know them first to decide which type you want to use with these kind of users.
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, it was my pleasure having you all together today. And as expected, it was a very good panel having you three together in the same panel. It was my pleasure having you joining this summit, accepting my invitation to join the Covid-19, the Game Just Started Global Virtual Summit, to tell people every day, stay home, stay safe, and we will bring to you the experts in the fields virtually to learn and watch them anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.